height of the underground parking garage, I saw 9 feet on that, presumably from floor to the next floor level.
Correct.
What, the 12-inch beam, how thick is the floor slab?
The floor slab was 8 inches in the parking lot.
Okay. So I've got 8 inches and then another 12, we got 20 inches. So I'm giving 7 feet, 4 inches of clearance per car, basically, in the
Yes.
bottom level. Okay, is that enough? Or?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. And then costs on the parking lot. Looked like you had $3 a square foot for the parking lot for construction. And did I see $4 a square foot for concrete sidewalks? Does that make sense? Is that,
I don't remember what the exact number was. I guess it came off the MDOT pricing guide. I mean, I don't know what they were per square foot. I mean, it's in my report, but I don't remember.
yeah, I just thought math out real quick, and it's just roughly 3 or 4. So does that seem right? The sidewalks cost more than the parking lot per square foot?
I mean, we had a lot more area for the parking lot itself than the sidewalks, so it could. It just depends on what those unit prices were. Plus, we're considering another base too for the parking lot too. So with the sidewalks, we're only doing a ag base in the bottom. I think it was 6 or something, like 6 inches, 8 inches, something like that. But the parking lot's a lot more depth to it.
Okay. Well, that's kind of my point. Sounds like parking lot maybe should be more expensive than the sidewalks.
It's possible, yeah.
Last question, just on the rain gardens. Who maintains those?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The rain gardens, who would maintain those?
That's, there would be like an initial leaf maintenance, like, I mean, the during construction, that's rain gardens, and then there would need to be a landscaping company that would be hired to maintain seasonally for the rain gardens.
Okay.
Good. Nice job, guys. Andrew Hermes, structural engineer. Nice job on the presentation. Appreciate how clear you guys made a lot of your statements. So it was nice. Put a couple hats on since we actually have some time. On the geotech, let's go back. Since we were gonna beat that dead horse.
She got her pie.
Yeah.
Who stacked this down?
What are you looking for? The loads. Yeah. Okay, so that one is your corner footing is 160 kips and 160,000 pounds, and it's an 8x8 footing. And then when we go to the interior footing, I have a 5.75 by 5.75 for like 600 kip load. So what's going on there?
I think I must have had some sort of conversion error somewhere, because originally when we talked about it being a column load, I think I remember converting from kips to pounds and then dividing by the area. So somewhere I must have made a mistake.
Okay, that's a mistake you don't want to make. Okay, that's definitely a mistake you don't want to make. Another thing on this one, and this is we're going to fold into structural here. Do we have different loads for the braced days where you have your brace? Because you would have additional loads coming into those footings from the braces, and was that addressed?
Can you repeat your question again?
So, and you have brace frame in the short direction.
Yes.
So, in that short direction, you're going to have additional loads on the footings from
Into
the
the
braces.
braces. Yes.
Was that addressed between you and the geotechnical engineer for determining that footing size?
I mean, I gave him the loads, so I'm assuming yes. I mean, I gave him the loads on all the sides, and the corners, interiors, and on all 4 corners. So
Including the additional loads?
yes.
Braces.
There were 2 frames analyzed, so obviously the moment frame didn't have any bracing, and the bracing frame, we included everything in there.
Okay.
The bracing was included in the loading calculations.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. All right. Structural stuff. So can we go to the short direction elevation?
So what?
Yeah, there's the elevation of the short direction of the building. Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect. So
There's ones with numbers if you go there.
no, that's fine. I want this one. That's good. Yeah, okay, this is all. So I see that your how did you determine your brace geometry in the short direction? What did you do to determine that was the best for your building?
Honestly, the professional engineer told me to do it on the short side. I assumed that the best geometry would be to include on the symmetrical spans, because both spans are 20 and a half feet long.
Okay, so generally there's a good amount of analysis to determine what type of geometry works best. So that probably not that one.
So should go with the longer span?
No, it's just that you probably didn't need that type of configuration where you're going across two bays with one member, and then you have a massive connection at where now you have 8 structural members intersecting at one joint. So that becomes a giant mess.
Yeah, we didn't take connections into, the connections were outside of the scope of the project, but it's a very good point.
Yep.
So what would you recommend for the future? Just have one bracing in each member, not?
One brace bed would have been probably sufficient, and either do what's called a chevron brace, which is coming into the midpoint of the beam, or you could do a single strut like you have and practically eliminate one side of it.
Okay.
Another point I wanted to make is how come your bracing stops above the ground,
Because the retaining wall would support the building there, with the bracing. So this is 9 feet of the retaining wall right here.
Okay, so if your retaining wall supports the building, how are your loads getting down into your foundations?
They go through the columns.
So your column and your retaining wall are supporting the building.
Yes.
Okay, that's not quite right. But what really wants to happen is that retaining wall is probably going to be separated from your building in some manner from carrying vertical loads, and then you'll have your columns come down to the foundations and your brace.
Okay. So there should be a bracing in the 9-foot underground section too?
Yes.
In the geotechnical scope, it was understood that the retaining wall was a non-load bearing structure, so I guess that's an area where we can communicate better.
So again, yeah, some coordination needs to occur. And then just, if I were to take that hat off and put my developer hat on, I saw we had 41 parking spots. This is kind of a question for the team in the underground, correct?
Yes.
So that would easily be well over $100,000 per parking spot in terms of added construction costs to the building. Did you guys evaluate other layouts for that parking, to add more parking underneath there, or do something to maybe push the exterior walls of the building out, or
We
exterior walls of the
weren't, in
basement
the scope of
out?
the project, we weren't allowed to push out. We had to be in the limit of 90 by 260 feet. And Dr. Kruger told us that, for me, it didn't make sense. My PE told me that you shouldn't have all the columns from the top of the building go straight into the underground parking. That's why it was very hard to feature more than 41 parking spaces underground. Usually you don't have all the columns in there. You would take out columns and put a bigger moment beam across.
Yeah, that's something that Mr. Dillon and I discussed when I met with him for our professional meeting, and we brought that to our instructors, and they said that was just kind of like outside of our abilities from what we've learned so far as an transfer beams.
Okay.
So we did talk about reducing the amount of columns and the parking into like larger, so we eliminate and create more space.
It was very challenging to create.
Just from an investor developer standpoint, it would be difficult for me to justify spending that quantity of money on that free parking. Anyway, sorry to hit you guys with so many questions, but we had a lot of time, so.
Make them earn their fee.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Conklin with Fishback Thompson Carter Newber. I'm the environmental water wastewater guy. And just in general, I think you guys did a really good job of stating codes and standards. And you're design criteria up front. Each one of you did that. And to me, that's very important that you understand what governs your design. So you all did that. So I give you kudos for that. Fatima, you did a good job. I've got a few questions for you. I think you understood the types of beer styles, which is always good. In my estimation, that you understand your basis there for the types of lager. You got a lager and a ale, and the source water that meets those styles, right? Did you say how much water? I think you might have. How much water you were using as a result? How much water did you need to process beer, to make beer? Did we have that number?
I didn't have it on the slides, but typically for a brewery, we would use a ratio of 4:1 for basically for every 1 gallon of beer, you would need, for the entire process of the brewery, you would need like 4 gallons.
Okay, so 4:1. What's the majority of that usage in water? Is it the actual process, or is it other external processes, or?
I mean, typically it goes into, this was outside of our scope. Like, we didn't have to go into like the brewery process. It was, when I met with the faculty, with Dr. Matson, she said that basically the brewery is like a black box for us. So all we need to know is, we need to know how much water goes into the brewery and how much wastewater would come out of it. But we don't really go into like the brewing process and the water used for each, for like batches.
My understanding is a lot of it goes to CIP, clean in place site. Just if I remember right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that number was up there somewhere. Okay. And then on the wastewater side, did you have a number for that? It should be similar. What was the number for the wastewater that you were? Well, you had a total amount, I think, for wastewater because you had to design your sewers well.
Yeah.
I saw some numbers for size of sewer and such. How much of that?
That was 33.9 gallons per minute.
How much? That from the
brewery
brewery side?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Your unit processes, I believe, on the wastewater side, were anaerobic. Anaerobic?
No, it started with a screening process, and then a pH equalization tank, and then a filter, and then we get to the biological treatment.
Gotcha, okay.
And that was the anaerobic. I just had the aerobic in there just to mention that we considered it, and that we chose the anaerobic to be the most efficient one.
Because some of the biogas.
The biogas and less sludge.
Got any idea how much that was and what you can do with it? If you can use it?
It can be used for electricity generation. Mainly, it's a renewable like energy source. So that was one of the things I looked up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, have you considered somehow maybe shipping that to the South Campus farms in their digester?
That's a possibility. Yes, but we didn't go into detail on.
Yeah, just kind of curious quantities of it. I suspect it's not a lot. You can do a whole lot with it, but if you can use it, great.
It can also be reused for the energy use of the brewery itself.
Yep. Residuals coming off your wastewater treatment of the beer making process has some sustainable reuse type. You can reuse it. I understand. Did you look into that and degree and how much of that you would have and where you would go with it?
I didn't look at the amount, but I know it could be used. It's nutrient rich, so it could be used for agricultural purposes, like for land use.
And the other thing is it's just the layout of the system. I think there was $4.2 million attributable, I think, in costs to the environmental side of things. Is that true?
Yeah.
How much of that goes to the brewery and wastewater side of things?
That's basically roughly. This is like the wastewater treatment.
That's an annual operational cost,
Yeah.
$100,000, and capital cost on there somewhere I saw. Brewery.
The brewery, yeah.
The brewery itself, the brewery construction. That's the main, the majority of the cost. The overall cost is the brewery
What
construction.
about capital costs for the treatment system itself? Because you had RO for water, is it treatment for water, or do you get treatment for wastewater? So there's
Yeah.
costs, capital costs
It
associated
should
with
be
that.
sorry, it should be the sum of the second part of the table. I just don't have like this
I
one.
thought you had a number somewhere else for all that. There's 100 grand on the capital cost, on the operation cost.
For the actual machines and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
That-
air over
I-
towers,
that-
the air over towers, the
Yeah.
RO systems you talked about, all that stuff. I don't see a cost for there. I thought I saw it somewhere else, actually. The overall 18 million cost,
I would assume it,
maybe?
oh, maybe it was the,
Brewery construction, brewery water, conveyance, sanitary sewage system, stormwater, well, maybe not. I didn't see that.
I mean, it would be working with the brewery construction costs, like because you need like those systems for the brewery, so you worked in with the 3.7 million.
So, okay. So
That's
that's
what
there.
it was.
Okay, I think that's pretty good for me.
Okay. Stephanie, you're Eric.
Yeah.
Eric, would you go back to the overall view of the storm sewers and water outgoing? There was a image from above. Yeah. Okay, your apartment complex, you have parking underneath it. When I drive in with my snow-covered car, it's pouring rain. Where is the drainage from underneath?
So within our scope, it was just decided that the drainage geotech, or it was recommended, by the investors, when geotech and decided that there would need to be a sub pump that pumps the water back out into the pipe network, and that would be directly connected to the final outlet pipe. But that was all we had to determine, was just that there would be a drainage system or separated for the underground parking and then a pump to pump it back out, and into the stormwater sewer system.
Okay. And then if I have a large delivery, this is separated, it's parking right. If I have a large delivery for the apartment complex or for the brewery, for the brewery, I have to come in off Marsh. I have to come in and go all the way down and cut across. Can I make that swing? Did you run some calculations on those swings with
Those
the?
needed to be 42 feet, and what we were considering was, we should have done this, just taking out that row of parking to allow for more room.
But this, you can make this swing, and then we were gonna propose that the brewery, has to come, the trucks that are coming on site, because we're only gonna use box trucks as well, they come at off-peak hours, so then to make it back out, they can use the other lane and then come back into your lane. Or they can do the exit and then go.
Okay, and then my grocery, I'm gonna come in, make this swing. And that's not always box trucks, those are some pretty heavy trucks that need groceries, so you might
Yeah,
have a
we
little
just
issue
might have
here.
assumed incorrectly then with just going with box trucks, I believe that's what we assumed at this time.
Okay, and then, did you give any thought to the handicapper parking? Anywhere that I park as a handicapper, I'm gonna have to cross a lot of traffic to get to the grocery store or to get to the apartment unless I have parking underneath. Or to get to the brewery, I've got to cross, traffic to get in there.
Yeah, we didn't consider that, it's a good consideration probably for the future, maybe we should change that up a
And if
little
I
bit.
break my leg on your basketball course, how do I get the ambulance in there?
The sidewalks are all, or the pathways are all 8 feet, and I believe that that can still fit,
So that's why your sidewalks are more expensive, because you're planning on having the fire.
Yeah.
Got it. And I didn't see a restroom facility for the basketball course or for the dog park. Was any thought given to,
no, we didn't incorporate that into the design.
okay.
That would be a good idea to have a restroom.
Yeah, because people
Maybe
go.
worked in with the gazebo area.
Yeah, that would be kind of, I didn't see any water for the dogs or folks, kind of, when we had the water coming in and out, piping for in and out, I didn't see any
Yeah.
consideration given to something like that.
Yeah, we didn't consider that.
Okay.
That's all you get.
Oh, the level of service, the level of service on Marsh Road went from F with all this new construction to an E? How did you do that?
We were given full control of the signal, so I just optimized it and just changed the signalization.
Okay. That's magic. I think there's a couple of folks who really.
I followed the timing permits we were given and put
Okay.
those in for the existing, and then, yeah, I changed it in there.
Well, that's good use of codes, and I appreciate that. And in fact, you all really did a good job looking up codes, finding out what codes were going to apply to yours, and dealing with a lot of the environmental issues, the VATs, looking at more than just the big overall picture, you did get into small, tiny details. I'm just being a little, taking those fine details maybe one step further. Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll go really quick. My name is Rich Shalani with Berkman Associates. There was discussion on the apartment building layout with regard to this nice view that you have on the backside of it, of wetlands, but they placed a parking lot.
Yeah.
Is there consideration for laying this out a little bit?
If we move the apartment towards the wetlands, then it wouldn't give access to, it was tough with the apartment layout because so then we wouldn't be able to, we'd have to move the entrances of the doorways to work with our underground access and then so we couldn't have it on the opposite sides. So it made it much more difficult and we couldn't figure out a better solution for that.
I almost told you. Okay.
Yeah, let us do the point.
I guess, what's the maximum height of that apartment building that you could have done?
65 feet.
And you had 55, right?
55 with the house.
So with your
From ground
underground,
level to the top.
with your underground parking, you had 9 feet.
Yes.
So was there consideration for getting rid of underground and just going to?
No, we were told that we had to do an underground parking.
I guess, when you're told certain things too, you might be able to bring those certain things up.
It's a better solution to do
Yeah,
it.
possibly look
Yeah.
at betterments for the project, reduce costs and stuff like that. I think that could really cut costs down a lot. So just something to consider for the future. You might be told something by somebody.
Okay.
If you have a better solution, everybody's always looking for innovations. I'll leave it at that, so.
All right.
So thank you.
Thank you.